Well, good afternoon, everyone. Glad you could join us. I'm Matt Johnson with SFREP. We do our webinars here, and today we're going to be doing a webinar on an introduction to Appraise-It Pro. So if you're still using Classic and you haven't switched over to Appraise-It Pro, or if you are coming over from another software vendor and want to get started with Appraise-It Pro, maybe your free trial, then this is the webinar for you. A couple of things before we get started, though, in regards to doing or watching one of these on YouTube. Down at the bottom, there will be a little toolbar. Now, this is if you're on the desktop or the computer version of YouTube. There'll be a little toolbar down at the bottom. If you click on the little in the lower right that looks like brackets, that will make YouTube go full screen. Now, the upshot of that is you'll be able to see all the stuff I'm going to show you a lot better, but you will lose the chat, so keep that in mind. The other thing is, and if you have another monitor, you could open up like another YouTube and put the chat over there. It's fine. The other thing is you'll see an elongated rectangle. If you click on that, it's going to put YouTube into theater mode. That will make the video larger and easier to see, and then it will move the chat from the right-hand side down to the bottom. Okay. Now, I do encourage you to ask questions. I love having questions from you guys. That's the whole reason I'm here. If you are watching this after the fact, or if you're a little bit shy and you want to ask later, you can email questions directly to me, training at sfrep.com. Training at sfrep.com. Of course, you can also use tech at sfrep.com, especially if you need an answer a lot quicker. And of course, if you need an answer very quick, you're stuck, you need something, someone to show you something, 800-644-4051. That is our telephone number for our technical support. So, first things first, we're going to go ahead and we're going to crank up Appraise-It Pro. Now, one of the cool things, especially for those of you who are moving over from Appraise-It Classic, Appraise-It Pro and Appraise-It Classic can reside on your system independently of each other at the same time. So it's not like you have to make this clean break when you decide to go over to Appraise-It Pro. You can have both of them installed at the same time. And if you get stuck in Appraise-It Pro, you can go back to Appraise-It Classic. Or if you want to, if you started an appraisal in Classic and you want to dabble it with Appraise-It Pro, you can actually move that or open that appraisal up in Appraise-It Pro. There's also a way that you can go back to Appraise-It Classic if you started one in Appraise-It Pro. What I would basically tell you is if you need to do that, then I would contact our tech support and they can show you how to do it. I show you how to do it in our tips and tricks webinar, which kind of acts as a part 2 to this one, but it's probably just better for you to call 800-644-4051 and they will be happy to help you in doing that. Okay. So you're not stuck. That's the big thing. You're not stuck in using Appraise-It Pro. You can go back and forth and have them on the system at the same time. So we're going to crank up Appraise-It Pro. Now, I think this is the first time I've done this today because I've been working on some other video related things. Now you won't see the splash screen. It's going to happen over here on my other computer screen, but in just a second, Appraise-It Pro is going to pop up here. The first time you run Appraise-It Pro during the day, it may take it a couple seconds to open up. If you open it up, if you close it and then subsequently open it up again, during the same day, then it will generally load a lot faster. Now, when you come into Appraise-It Pro, you are going to be in this area that is called the backstage. I like to call it the super file menu. And the reason for that is if you click on this little arrow in the upper left-hand corner, that's going to take you back over into the editing section of Appraise-It Pro. Now, I don't have a report open right now, so it's just blank, but this is where you're going to be editing your report. And you'll see that in order to get back to where we just were, back to that backstage area, you have to click on the file menu. And it's kind of denoted out with this black background. It can kind of make it look special. If you click on that, it takes you back to the backstage. This is a reference that Microsoft came up with, kind of a reference to the theater, kind of in the background or the backstage. This is where kind of all the stuff gets started. So on the left-hand side, you have a menu here. Welcome new open search settings. Down here, you have save as template, close. These are ghosted out right now. That's what this is called. They're ghosted out right now. Can't be used because I don't have a report open. I don't really go over these. These are kind of redundant because they are actually under the home menu as well. So probably won't use that often, but they're there. Also, same thing with print and print PDF. There's also new window and exit. Now, exit self-explanatory. Click on it, does the same thing as the red X in the upper right hand corner does. New window will allow you to open up multiple instances of Appraise-It Pro. And an instant is just, think of it as just opening up Appraise-It Pro again. And you can open up another report. You can open up 2 more reports, and you can have them all stacked on different monitors. You can copy and paste between them. So great way to reference back and forth to an existing report if you need to. And something that Appraise-It Classic didn't really do. So it's kind of nice to be able to have 2 separate reports open in 2 instances of Appraise-It Pro at the same time. Now, when you first open up the program, you're going to be in the welcome area. And this is just a way for us to be able to communicate with you without having to send you an email, without having to call you, without having to bother you in some way. This is just latest news and stuff. You can see we don't update it all too often. Last time we updated it was back in October. And we don't put like GIFs or images or anything flashy in here. It's just going to be understated and sitting here when you want to read through it. And this gets updated as long as you have an internet connection. So if we update something the next time you open up Appraise-It Pro on a computer that has an internet connection, which obviously is almost all computers at all times, then this will update. New, this is where you're going to start a brand new appraisal in one of 2 ways. You're going to either open up a quote unquote skeleton like you would in Appraise-It Classic, although now we call them templates. There is a difference between a skeleton and a template, a fundamental difference, but and we'll go over that, but all you really need to know right now is that a template takes over the functionality of what a skeleton was. They're very similar in a lot of ways in how you're going to use them. And don't worry, templates are way easier to deal with than skeletons were. So made that much easier on you. So don't worry. Now over here on the left-hand side, this is your list of reports. Same thing that was in the file new area in Appraise-It Pro, or excuse me, Appraise-It Classic. Same concept here. If you're looking for a 2055, you can just type in 2055 up here in the search. It's going to show you all the different 2055s that are in the program. We have a frequently used area, so this will populate as you start using Appraise-It Pro, and this will always be at the top. But you can notice that the same report type can show up multiple times when you do a search. So it's showing up here in the UAD. It's also showing up here under non-lenders. Legacy forms is the old 2055 pre-2005. Some people, we keep it in there for backwards compatibility, and some people still use it for various things. Shows up under Freddie Mac, shows up under Fannie Mae, and shows up under UAD. So all the same one for the most part in most cases, although obviously this one and this one are different, but same one showing up in multiple places. And if you want to see all of the report types again, you just click on the X up here, and now we see everything again. Now to open up a report type, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you just want to open up a blank default template, meaning, or think of that as a skeleton, just a blank default report, all you have to do is double click here for the 1004, okay? Or down here, whatever floats your boat. Now you'll notice though, if I single click on it instead of double clicking, over here, the templates will fill in. Now I'll show you how to make a template here in a little while, but it's way easier than making a skeleton ever was. Essentially, if you were using, and a lot of people did this, if you were in Appraise-It Classic and you were using old reports to start new reports, that's essentially what the use of templates is like. A template is nothing more than a report that has been promoted to template status, but it is basically a report at heart. You just designate it, hey, this, instead of being a report, this is now a template. So when you start something out, for maybe a specific lender or a specific town or a specific neighborhood, whatever it happens to be, and you're like, hey, you know what? I am at a point where I'm not filling in anything specific about this. I want to start here. Next time, you just save it as a template, and I'll show you how to do that here in a little while. Now you can see I've made a couple here, and if I want to use them, all I have to do is double click on them here under templates, and they'll open up. If you want, you can also single click here and click on create report, but double clicking does the same thing. And if you don't want one of these templates, you just click on the little trash can icon and it goes away. So click, yes, boom, it's gone. Now there's a little checkbox down here at the bottom you may have noticed. It says include suggested forms in the default template. So what this means is that when this is checked, and it's checked by default, when you open up the default template, which is always the one up here at the top. So if I go to some random one, you see it's always got a default template up there. So if that is checked, when you open this default template by either double clicking here or double clicking here, it's going to fill in the report with some suggested forms, things like mapping pages, some photo pages, maybe comp and listing pages, things like that. It's just going to kind of pre-build a little bit the report. Now, from there, you're going to want to clean it up and, customize it the way you want, but it gives you a nice starting point. Now, if you just wanted to open up, let's say in the 1004, the, 4 main pages or 6 main pages of the report, and that's it. You don't care about anything else. Is it 4 or 6? I can't even remember at this point. Well, let's find out. I think it's, you guys are like yelling, I know. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So it opens up the 6 pages of the report and a couple of other addenda that are required by the program. And then that's it. And then you can just add what you need. So you have the flexibility to do that any way you want. Let's move over to the left-hand side. We're going to click on Open, and that is going to be the Open menu. Now, you probably won't come in here all that much. You might think you would, but in actuality, you're probably not. The main reason you might come in here most often is to come over here to Recent Reports. So instead of clicking on Open or going to the search function, which we'll go over here in a minute, to find a report, you were working on it 2 days ago. So here you can just go to Open, find it in the list. It's going to be about the last 20 reports you had open. And then you could just highlight it and you just double click it and it'll open it up. Now over here on the left-hand side, you can open up a report by just simply browsing to it. Maybe someone sent you one. It's on your desktop. You can do that. Of course, you can just also go to your desktop and double click. You can open up a classic report. Once again, this is going to be browsing to that classic report. I wouldn't do either of these two in most cases because you can just use the search and that's going to be a whole lot easier. And then you can open up a Mismo document. This can be very handy if you have a colleague who uses another software package, but they want to send you some data from their report. They can just send you the Mismo XML that they generated in their software and you'll be able to open it up just like it was a regular report. Appraise-It Pro is very, and so is Mismo XML. It's software package agnostic. It doesn't care where it came from. It's all the same. And then finally, there's Open Template and Open Classic Skeleton. And I'm going to bring this up. You'll never, ever use this, but you may use this. And the reason you may use this, Open Classic Skeleton, is that, and this is going to answer a question that a lot of you may have sitting on the edge of your tongue, tip of your tongue. We do not automatically convert your old skeletons from Appraise-It Classic to Pro. There's a specific reason for that. We did initially in the beginning, but it was a very convoluted interface that you had to go through to do it. And we found in testing that appraisers weren't really using that, or when they did use it, they ended up having to clean up the old skeletons so much that it basically was just like they were starting anew, and that's what they ended up doing. So we don't convert them automatically. What I would personally recommend you do is to actually, when you start with Appraise-It Pro, rebuild your set of skeletons as templates. So basically just start a template off on its own merit and not convert something over and not worry about what you had in Appraise-It Pro. And the reason for this is by doing this, you are going to learn the program very quickly. And you are going to have nice, clean skeletons that you'll be, or excuse me, templates that you'll be able to start off Appraise-It Pro with. So it's going to be a little bit more work, but that work is going to be good for you in teaching you how to use the program. Now, we do understand that there are going to be some, skeletons you had that were really complex, and you may want to not want to have to retype all that or copy and paste it. That's where you can come in here to Open Classic Skeleton, browse to that skeleton, and then it will convert it into a report, clean it up, change around wording, get all the fonts and everything looking correct, and then you can save it as a template. Remember, if you have any questions, just use the chat down at the bottom or to the right. Search, very similar to what you had in Appraise-It Classic or what you had probably in your other software if you're coming over from another software package. This is just a basic type of what they call exclusionary search. So the way this works is the more info that I type into these fields, the more exclusionary the search is going to be, meaning it is going to narrow down the search results quite a bit. So if I just give it the county, then well, that's not going to, maybe I do all of I live in Charlotte. Maybe I do all of my appraisals mostly in Mecklenburg County, which is the county that Charlotte's in. Then I'm going to get pretty much every single report. But if I do Mecklenburg County and we do zip code 28226, well, now I'm going to narrow down my results a little bit more. And maybe in addition to that, I want to put in a partial street address. Painted Tree Road. And you'll notice it also autofills for you. So we'll do Painted Tree Road. Now, when I do a search, I'm only going to get, a couple. Now, I don't have like a actual report database in here because I don't use this to do appraisals. But if you were to now do search, you would see all of the reports that were in Mecklenburg County in zip code 28226 and on Painted Tree Road. And the reason you may want to do it this way is because if it was something like, I don't know if anybody's ever been to Charlotte before, but maybe it's Sharon Road and there's like 20 different Sharon Roads. So you may want to say, I only want to see the ones that are in 28226. So you get the idea. Now, let me clear this and I'll show you what it basically looks like. I'm just going to do a blank search so that I see everything. Of course, if you did this, there would be a ton here. And by the way, you don't have to worry about converting all of this over. This gets converted over automatically from Appraise-It Classic. And if you are coming over from another software package, get with our tech support. They can take all of your Mismo XML files that you've hopefully been archiving and dump them into a subfolder in Appraise-It Pro. And then Appraise-It Pro will automatically go through all of those, hoover out all the data about each of the addresses and build a file, this search index for you, and also build a comp database for you as well. And for those of you moving over from Appraise-It Classic, all of your databases, neighborhood, lender database, comp database, all that stuff's going to be brought over automatically. You don't have to do anything now. If you have an extensive databases, it may take a little while. So keep that in mind that it may be the next day. But that first time I would leave your computer open and leave Appraise-It Pro open, and it'll go ahead and it'll do its thing. And then you'll have all the databases brought over. Okay, so I get my results here in this grid, kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. If I scroll over to the right, I can see all of the different information that is stored about that particular, about these particular addresses and appraisals. And if I select one of them by just single clicking, not double clicking, single clicking, it will give me a front view photo of that property. Plus it will give me all of the information about that property, some of the key information about that property. So I know I've got the right one. And then when I have it and I know I've got the right one, I can just simply double click to open it up, or I can come down here to open report. These right here we'll go over later, but this is how you'll open up the report. Just quickly, you can import forms and import comps from here as well, which is nice because now if you want to do an import, you don't have to go searching for the report. You can actually just use this, or you don't have to go browsing, through all of your report files to find it. You can just do a search here and then import from there. Finally, settings. I'll be honest with you. If you are a power user, come in here. You can tweak Appraise-It Pro to your heart's content. Get it just the way you want it. If you are somebody, and I would say this would be a vast majority of our customers, who doesn't really feel comfortable messing around with things and just wants things to work, I would only come in here if you are with one of our tech support people. But here you can change the default formatting. You can change how common responses work. You can change the colors, how extended comments are done, how autosave work. All that stuff is in here. If you do come in here and change something, I would suggest writing it down on a Post-it note. That way, if it does something you don't like, you can come back and you can change it. All right, so we're going to come back up here to new. I'm going to open up a default template for the 1004, and we are going to move along here. Okay, so this is the editing screen. This may look very familiar, whether you're coming over from another software package or if you are coming over from Appraise-It Classic. Appraise-It Pro, just like Appraise-It Classic, just like most software for real estate appraising out there, is WYSIWYG. It stands for What You See Is What You Get, WYSIWYG. And what that basically means is this is a actual graphical representation of the actual report. So this is basically how it's going to look when it prints out. Now, when it prints out, you're not going to have these little shaded colored boxes, obviously. These are internally for the program, but this is going to show you that when you're entering something here, it's going to look like that when it gets either printed out, printed to PDF, or made into a Mismo XML. We have 3 panels here that are here by default. Now this is all customizable, and I do show you how to customize this in our tips and tricks webinar, which we got one coming up next month, in like a week. But, you know, if I'm not going to go over it now because it can get a little complicated, but you can always get with our tech support and they'll be happy to show you how you can customize these. But for now, we're going to just do it. We're going to roll with it being in the default mode. So we have 4 panels here. We have the report panel, the validator panel, the responses panel, and the format panel. Couple things. First of all, there's also a hidden 5th panel here, which is help. It kind of is by default in tandem with responses. Help, you guys probably aren't going to use it unless you have, or unless you are a trainee or someone new to doing appraisals. Then these can be very helpful. There's help written for every single field to tell you what to put in there. But if you have been doing this for a very long time, you already know all this stuff. And by the way, we are one of the, I think the only, if not one of the only software vendors that lets you type directly into the field, even if it's a UAD field. You don't have to use some kind of helper. You can, but you don't have to. The other thing I'll show you is this format panel. You may have caught that. When I'm not in a field that is some type of special formatting, then this is just a color key. And this can be real helpful. You can see green is a formatted field, gray, active field, inactive field is blue, extended comment field is darker blue. So any of these darker blues, you can see it has extended comments associated with it. And our extended comments, when they automatically trigger, when you've typed too much into a field, they are word processing. So you can make your extended comments as long as you want. You can put some photos in there to help illustrate a point, whatever you want to do. But when I do go into one of these green fields, which right here is a formatted field, it tells you that. Let's go down here to the grid. You'll see that this now turns into the UAD helper that was in Appraise-It Classic or something similar that you have seen in other software packages. And if I want, I can come over here and I can just fill this out. So we'll say beneficial, other view type, water view. That's all I'm going to put. I'm going to hit apply. And now it puts the proper UAD formatting in there. But since we've been doing this for going on a decade now or more, actually more, about a decade and a half, a lot of you know what the formatting is by heart anyway. So in our software, you are welcome to type directly in there. But if you do it incorrectly and you leave the field, if it's not formatted correctly, it will turn it red and it'll give you a notification down here in the validator panel, which we'll go over here in a minute. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Let's start on this report panel. Now, if you are moving over from Appraise-It Classic, listen up because this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you in this webinar. This is the thing that's going to trip you up. This is the thing that is the most different. This is what you really need to listen to. So pay attention. Now, if you're coming over from another software package, pay attention, but this isn't going to be as key for you because this is basically operating just like your software did. This report panel is the table of contents for your report. So everything that's listed in here and the order it's listed in, that is how it is in the report. That is by default how it will print out to a PDF or to paper if you so choose to do that. And that's how it will be delivered, through the various portals. So because of that, first, you don't want to put anything in here you're not going to be filling out. The main reason for that, you want to keep this what I like to call tidy, is so that if you come back to this report 3 weeks from now, you'll know exactly what you sent to the lender or the AMC, and you will know in exactly what order you sent it to as well. So in this particular report, if I am not going to be using a flood map, then I don't want it in there. It's in there by default. I'm going to click on it, click on remove, say yes, and it's gone. And that's the way we want it. Now, if I need to come back and put a, I need to put a flood map back in there later, I can either just use the flood map program and it'll put it in there for me automatically, but I can also click add. This add and remove forms dialog comes up. I can type in flood in the search box here. There's my flood map, and I can either double click to put it down at the bottom of the table of contents, or I can click and I can drag it back over and we'll put it where it was, which is under location map. There it is. Hit save and close, and now there it is. Flood map. And you can do that with any addenda. So, if I come in here and I'm looking for COVID addenda, which I don't think we're using anymore, but it's still in there. The COVID desktop, click, drag it over. Maybe I want to put it after the sketch, whatever. Save and close. And then boom, there it is. And this one has multiple pages to it. So I can go and I can open up specific pages. Now, if you want to look at something that's in the report, all you got to do is double click on it, and now you're looking at it. But you may notice up here at the top, we have a tabbed interface just like you would in a web browser. And you can close the tab out, but you're not removing that from the report. You're just not looking at it anymore. Just as if you close a tab on a web browser, you're not removing that website from the internet. You're just not looking at it anymore. You can also pull these out, put them on multiple monitors, shift them around. We go over that in our tips and tricks webinar. There's one other way that you can add new addenda in. It's a very quick way to do it. You'll notice that some of these have little green pluses next to them. Now, real quickly, let me go over what these little icons mean. The star, that's the primary, the star of the report. It's the primary form in the report, in this case, a 1004. Then you'll see some padlocks on here. These are required for the proper operation of Appraise-It Pro with that report. So you can't remove them. They have to stay there. You can put them elsewhere if you want. You can load them all down at the bottom if you want, but they have to remain in the report. You don't have to print them. Most people don't. You can if you want, but most people won't. Some of them have green pluses, and then some of them don't have any at all. If they don't have any icon at all, it doesn't mean anything. It just means there's nothing special going on there. If they have a green plus, that means that you can click that green plus, because you notice it matches the add up here at the top. You can click that green plus and it will add more of that particular addenda to the report. So in this case, sales comps 4 through 6 are already in the report, but if I click on plus, it's now going to add sales comps 4 through 9. And as an added bonus, it is also going to add sales comps photos 7 through 9 as well. If I don't want them anymore, I can just click on remove and I can get rid of them. But if it does have some type of prerequisite, or if it has a follow along that needs to be added as well, then it will do that for you automatically. And a couple of these you can actually rename. So if I go down here to, let's say, general photos, what this means is general photos, 3 per page, legal sized, 3x5 is it's the ratio, the old 3x5 photos that you get from the drugstore whenever we used to actually tape those in or glue them onto the report. That's what that means. So that's very cryptic. Maybe that's where, actually this one's the 6 per page legal 3x5. Maybe this is where I had some extra photos of the garage, because it's a really cool garage. It was redone into a workshop or something like that. So I wanted more photos of it. So what I can do is I can just come up here, click on rename, 6 legal. This can be anything you want. I'm just following the other naming convention that we already had in there. Hit OK. Now it says garage photos, 6 per page legal. And I just renamed it. And now if I come back in here a month, 2 months later, I know exactly what that is. I don't have to sit there and go, okay, what were all these general photos? And then start opening them up and lose track of them. You can rename them and know exactly what they were. Moving along. How are we doing on time? We're coming up to about 30 minutes. So the rest of these are going to burn through pretty quickly. Okay. Be thinking of any questions that you might have, and you can go ahead and type them now in the chat, or email them to training@sfrep.com, and I'll be glad to answer them when we're done. Validator panel, real simple. There are 2 types of validation. There is real-time validation, which is always happening, and then there is comprehensive validation. So real-time validation, an easy way to see that in action is if I come up here to state, type in NC, it's happy, nothing happens, didn't turn red. But if I come in here and I type in BC, which is very easy to do if you have fat fingers, well, BC is a Canadian province, it's not a US state, so it turns it red. Go back in here. Actually, if I show you this, maybe I didn't realize what I did, and I'm all the way down here in the grid now. If I notice over here in the validator, it says hard stop state. If I click on that, it'll tell me what's wrong down here at the bottom. And if I double click on it, it's going to jump back to where the problem is. And now I can change it. And now that goes away. And this is like, for instance, the state field. This knows all of the territories as well. So if you put PR in here for Puerto Rico, that's fine. If you put VI for Virgin Islands, it is fine with that. You do GU for Guam, it is happy with that as well. Because we actually have customers in all of those territories that use our software. Okay. Comprehensive validation, you're only going to want to do that when you're done with the report. If I do it right now, chaos will ensue because it'll turn everything red because I haven't filled out anything in this report. So only do the comprehensive validation when you're done and you're like, okay, I think I'm ready. and it's going to do a final check for you. Now, there is a rule set. There are two rule sets. There's UCDP, which is standard UAD rule set, and then there's FHA. That's obviously the Federal Housing Administration rule set. They're very, very similar to each other. There are a couple small little differences though, but you'll just want to make sure that you select this correct one and double check this each time, because if last time you selected FHA, it's going to say FHA the next appraisal you do. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then what you do is you're just going to click on this validate button. It's going to run through the validation. It'll give you your errors and warnings. You can double click on it. It'll jump to it and it'll tell you what you need to do to take care of it. It's going to check your math, spelling. It's going to check your formatting, UAD, all that kind of stuff. Up here in the upper right is the responses panel. This is one of my favorite things that they implemented in Appraise-It Pro is how they did responses. Now, if you've been using Appraise-It Classic, you know there's the F key bar up at the top. You can also, I believe it was hit F2, and you can see the other responses that weren't assigned to F keys. All of that has been brought over to Pro, but a little bit different interface, and I think a much better interface. So if I come in here to City, you can see I've made some responses already in here, and I've assigned some of those F keys. So if I hit F3 on my keyboard, it's going to put in Matthews for me. So how do I assign an F key to that, or how do I put a new response in? Well, I can, let's see. Let's do Monroe. All right. So I want to put Monroe in there. I'm going to click on Manage Responses. There's Monroe. I can type in a title. However, you're only going to want to do that if you have like multi-paragraph response. And so you want to give it a title. So it's easier to see what it is over here in the responses tab. But for single, maybe 2-word responses, not necessary. And if I want to assign it to F5, we're going to do F5. I don't have to. That's optional. Hit save. There already was a Monroe in there. Oops. All right. So then we'll make this, I don't know, Dallas. There is actually a Dallas, North Carolina. It's a suburb of Charlotte. So we'll do Dallas. We'll assign it F key, F5. We'll hit save, hit close, and there it is. There's Dallas. And then I can hit F5 over here, or I can double click it with my mouse. Or I can start typing DA. It autofills Dallas like it would in a web browser. Tab out. And let me tell you something. If you set up this whole first section, like the subject section, a couple of these sections with responses, and you just start typing the first few letters of each response, and then you hit tab, you can burn through that section like nothing. There's one other way you can do this, and that's with the F2 key. And then I can select it from a list. So if you like to stay on your keyboard, you can either type the first part of it to let it autofill, or you can hit F2 on the keyboard and then select it from the list and then tab out. If you want to get rid of a response, real simple. If I want to get rid of Gastonia, hit delete response, say yes, it's gone. And finally, the format panel, we kind of went over this already, the way this works. You just select what you want, click on apply. You can also use F12 to jump back and forth if you want to stay on the keyboard. That's different from Appraise-It Classic, so just take note of that. It's F12 to jump back and forth. There's also a save as subject button. If you come in here and it's already got text in there, you can click on clear, or you can just click on apply, or you can just tab out of the field or click out of the field. They all do the same thing. But this, very self-explanatory. It was in Appraise-It Classic. It's in other software vendors. It's just, if you were using some other software package, it may have overlaid this or popped it up at you. We didn't want to do that because that becomes very annoying, especially if you don't want to use it. You just want to type directly in the field. So you always have the option of typing directly in it, or if you want, you can come over here and use the panel. Couple of other small things, and then we're going to be done here. Once again, if you got any questions, go ahead and get them into the chat now, or send them to training@sfrep.com. That way, if you're watching this after the fact, you can ask some questions, and I'll answer them later on. Or I'll try to check that before we get off the webinar here. So if you want to use email, you can do that. But use the chat down at the bottom or over on the right-hand side. If you have any questions, go ahead and get them now and we'll answer them. So a couple of smaller things that I do want to show you here before we're done. Lower right-hand corner, you see this little stoplight, or this green light here, and it says all services are online. This is in real time telling you the status of all of our web services, all of our servers. If there is a problem, that green button there, the green light, may change yellow or red. If it changes yellow, that means that there's degraded service for some reason, and you can click here and it will tell you what that service is. If you click on the little tab here, the little tooltip that comes up, it will take you to this website, status.sfrep.com. And this website you can also get to if you're still using Classic. You just go to manually to status.sfrep.com, and it'll tell you both a history of any problems that we were having or planned maintenance, and it will tell you if anything is wrong. Right now, all 24 are up, no problems at all. But this can be handy in keeping you from having to call or chat in if like, let's say that street maps start getting slow. Maybe we'll turn it yellow. If they stop working because there's some kind of problem with the server, they'll turn red. This little light down here will turn red. If you go to the support menu up here at the top, by the way, this is what's called a ribbon bar. I used to go over this, but pretty much everybody's familiar with how this works now because it's in a ton of different programs, including Microsoft Word. We developed this in the same development environment that Word is developed in. So we also took a lot of design cues from Word as well. So if you use Microsoft Office, you'll feel kind of at home here. Under support, here's where you can get in touch with us. We have the knowledge base. So you can click down here and see the most looked at articles in our knowledge base. If you click on them, it'll open them up in a web browser. There's also chat. So if you want to contact our technical support and get help even quicker, you can do it via chat. Now, for very complex issues, this may not be the best selection, but if you want to get in touch with somebody quickly, this can be. And the main reason for that is that we have a finite number of technical support people, and they can only be on one phone call at a time, but they can be on 3 or 4 chats at a time. So they'll be able to answer you pretty much right away. There's also email for email support. There's feedback over here on the left-hand side. You can check for updates as well. Our Refer a Friend program. So if you know somebody who's looking for software and you refer them, you can earn free months of service with SFREP, with Appraise-It Pro. Over here, this is where all of our socials are. So our website, our blog, our Facebook, our Twitter. Well, actually, we need to change this to X, but that's our Twitter, and then our YouTube page. And YouTube is where we put all of our videos. This is our YouTube. Well, hold on. This is our YouTube page. Nope. Hold on. Don't know why I did that. Okay. Yeah, this is our YouTube page. So here are our videos. You want to see all the videos in order, click on videos. There they all are. If you want to rewatch webinars, you can come over here into live, and that's where all those are going to be. And then playlists, we do have a playlist for new to SFREP and Appraise-It Pro, or we also have a playlist for learning Appraise-It Pro as well. And you can watch all those videos. We like to use YouTube because everybody knows how to use YouTube. It is not anything that is hard to do. Everybody knows how it works. Okay. Now's the time where you ask me any questions that you have. Hopefully I don't hear any. Well, I take it back. I love to answer questions, but if I don't hear any, I'm also happy because that means that you guys have a grasp and an understanding of this. But remember, if you're watching this after the fact, you can email instead of texting or instead of chatting. You can email training@sfrep.com, or if you need immediate assistance, tech@sfrep.com. And I have had a couple of people ask because they may have missed our buying a new computer webinar. And if you did, I constantly am, probably once a day, somebody asks me what are our recommended specs. I'm going to give those to you real quick before we get out of here. These are the recommended specs if you're getting a new computer. We recommend an AMD Ryzen 5 or an Intel Core i5. Remember that the Ryzen processors and the Core processors, they now have kind of the same numbering scheme. So an AMD Ryzen 5 is the same thing as an Intel Core i5. I do like the Ryzen processors better, though. They're a little bit faster, they're a little bit cheaper, and they have much better graphics. Recommend at least 8 gigs of RAM, but always buy as much RAM as you can afford. Storage, 256 gigabytes of solid state storage. Pretty much everything out there now is solid state, so you're not going to have to worry about mechanical hard drives anymore. Let those things rot in the dustbin of history. Mechanical hard drives, their time is over, and I can't be more happy. Their SSDs are probably 10 times, 20 times faster, and they are way more reliable. Keyboard, make sure that it has the 10 key on the right-hand side, and so you can, the little keypad, the number pad, and then make sure it has USB-C and USB 3.1, which they pretty much all do nowadays. I don't have any questions from you guys, so I hope everyone has a great rest of your workday. Thank you for showing up. Remember, training@sfrep.com if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Have a great one, everybody.